Alright, how's it going, guys? I wanted to make another video regarding the arenas we are going to be getting, I assume to be next wipe, probably pretty early on. Probably not, I'd say probably around a month into next wipe, maybe a bit longer, maybe a bit less, who knows. Just a rough guess based on the things they've said. However, I want to make a video going over some things Grayson has said about arenas in the Discord. Actually, one of these is kind of old, and I actually never knew about it. No one ever, showed it to me. I never, really checked to see his messages or anything like that. But this is pretty old. I think it's from, the 19th of February, and then another one was from either yesterday or just a few days ago, I believe. Honestly, I'm not entirely sure. But it was pretty recently. I think it was since I made my last video even remotely talking about Arena. However, the two things I want to go over are this right here. He says, this is yesterday, or this one is 2019. Let's go over this one. The arena will not be a place you want to go for practice, and then I don't think arena is anything like what people are guessing it will be. So to start off with, I'm gonna go over this. I mean, this one's a lot more vague because this could mean anything. I have no idea what people are guessing. I mean, it's kind of hard to really gain any information from this. However, this one here, the arena will not be a place you want to go for practice. Just off of a baseline, I automatically don't like this. I think that's an awful lot. I'm be completely honest. I think this is probably one of the worst ways they could ever implement the arena. If the arena is somewhere that only hardcore players are going to play, then it is automatically a flop in my mind. Like, arena should be something that you want everybody to play. It's not something that you should only want your top 1% of players to ever go into and experience. Because just to establish, so the problem with that, there's a lot of problems, but let me just tell you one problem. So if the only people you have going into arena is your top 1% of players and no one else is ever going in there, what it becomes is, okay, let's assuming, I'm just gonna throw this out here, assuming the reason they say this is probably because you're gonna lose your gear. I don't know if the other team's gonna get it. However, more likely than not, they probably will. But I'd say definitely you're going to lose gear going in here just based on how they're saying it. So, okay, so two problems with this. Well, more than two, but for two problems I want to go over now. One, if you lose your gear, even the top 1% of players, let's say this game has 10,000 players, there's going to be probably 100 to, I'd say 1 to 500 players that are ever going to be consistently playing Arena with really good gear. The large majority of the player base is always going to be casual. That's just kind of how it is. And this is across, every region. This isn't just NA specific. This is probably across every region. So let's say 1 to 500 players, right? And obviously there's going to be skill differentials between those players. It's not just going to be oh, they're all the exact same in skill. No. So if arenas becomes only those players playing, then the best players are going to win consistently and they're going to be getting all the gear. However, the players that are still good, they're still really good. Let's take gold gear as a standard here, right? Let's say all these are those 500 players. Those are the gold gear players. They're all still good players. They're all still in gold gear. However, let's just say they're not as good. Let's say I'm fighting someone else. I'm better than them, and I'm beating them consistently. Well, eventually, if they're queuing up and they lose to me 5 times in a row, that's 5 kits they just lost. And either they're gonna keep coming in significantly worse gear, which then lowers their chances to win even further, or they just stop queuing it. And, oh, sorry, let me drink some water. My mouth's really dry. All right, thank you. That was good. But, so either they start coming in worse gear and they lose it because they were already losing to me in, relatively similar gear. Now they're fighting me in worse gear, so they're probably going to lose even harder. Or, lose, it'll be even easier for me to beat them. Or they're going to stop queuing until they get better gear. And this is going to be happening pretty much just across the board. All of these players are probably going to be queuing relatively at the same time. And it's just going to be it's literally, just think of like an Ouroboros symbol, right? The snake eating its tail. That's what it's going to be like. The top players are consuming the bottom players, and it's just going around. And eventually, everybody's going to run out of gear for Arena, and Arena's going to end up dead. Well, not everybody, but either most people are going to run out, or what it's literally going to be is it's going to be what people think the Scrim Discord is. It's going to be 5 to 10 teams just fighting back and forth, trading gear back and forth. Because, oh, we beat them this time, they beat us next time. We beat them this time, they beat us next time. That's what it's going to pretty much be. Or, like I said, or one team's just going to dominate, and they're literally going to run everybody out of their gear. But regardless of how it works, it's pretty much going to result in Arena being a relatively dead place. And, which is, I mean, I would say it's fine. I mean, it's not. I mean, you don't want to put something in the game that's just going to be dead. It kind of defeats the purpose, right? Also, I think this takes away from the competitive aspect to it because then you can't go in and try things. You can't experiment. You can't try a new build in there because like, oh, if I go in there, I die, I lose, right? However, if they make it so you don't lose gear, this opens up a world of opportunity. Like I mentioned in one of my previous videos, the biggest part of the arena not losing gear in the arena is it lets newer players try PvP, and not only that, it lets those players that have never really ran Gigabyss kits run a Gigabyss kit. Like they can slowly build one up over the wipe. Like obviously I'm not saying they're gonna get one in a week, but in 2 months, saving it happens all the time. You find one random, like really crazy piece of gear in the dungeon, and you're like, oh, well, I'm never gonna run this because I'll lose it. Let me just sell it. Now you just throw that into your stash, keep that there, make that arena kit. Like, slowly build one up over the wipe. And even if it takes you 1 to 2 months, by the end of it, you can run arena in that really good gear. And that'll be a fun experience because you don't have to be worried about losing that gear. However, like I said, if they make it so you lose your gear, no one's going to do that. The same thing's going to happen. All these players that were too scared to take in really good gear to PvP, they're still not going to do it. They're even less likely to do it in arena because you're only out, like, even if, if you go into the dungeon, if you go into, like, crypts, at least you can, like, extract and avoid a really geared team that's going to kill you most likely. In arena, you can't do that. You have to fight them. That's the whole point of arena is you have to go in the fight. So you're guaranteed losing it if you fight someone that's way more overgeared or it's way better than you. So it's just like, I don't understand the point of them doing this. I really don't like it. I think it's a really, really fucking bad idea. Also, like I said, for a competitive aspect, if that's what they want arenas to be, which I assume they would, I don't know why they would add it without having some sort of competitive background going into it. It just kind of ruins it just kind of ruins it for me. Because, like, let's say, for example, like, let's say, you have 2 teams fighting, they want to do a best of 5. By the end of that best of 5, like, let's say one team takes a 2-0 advantage. A 2-0 advantage where you took the kits of the enemy team after each time is definitely a lot bigger. Because now they're on their 3rd best kit, and you're already up 2-0, beating them in their best kits, right? Like, that doesn't really make sense. I mean, I was always kind of worried they'd do this. However, I was pretty hopeful. I was like, surely they recognize arena is somewhere that a lot of people are going to want to play. However, if they make it like this, it's just not ideal, right? Like, why does the arena exist if not to help people like PvP and practice it? All they're going to do is they're just going to gatekeep people out of arena, and they're just going to make it so people are less, like, even more scared to go in there. I mean, you can make an argument to say, oh, well, if all the PvP sweats are in arena, then all the other people have an easier time in the dungeon. Well, yeah, I mean, technically that's true. However, it's not like, 24/7 they're going to be in arena. Like, you're still going to run into them in the crypts and the dungeon and whatever map it is, and they're still probably going to kill you, so it doesn't really matter. Like, arena is just such a big opportunity to bridge a gap between your hardcore PvP community and the people that want to be in that, but just haven't committed the time yet. Because the thing is, right now, a lot of the top players in this game are players that have been playing since the playtest, right? Think like playtest 1, 2, 3, like, even like 4, but pretty much all of these like top players have been playing since way back then. And there is a giant experience gap that these new players just cannot bridge going in. Because they're going in, they're fighting a gear difference, they're fighting a skill diff, they're fighting a knowledge diff. There's so many things that they have to overcome to beat these players. And I'm not saying it's impossible, because it is. It's absolutely possible, right? Wait, I'm not saying it's... Yeah. I'm not... Yeah, it's absolutely possible to do it. However, and obviously I get this is a hardcore game, and it's like, oh, you have to figure everything out yourself, hardcore game. I just think arenas being accessible to everyone is just such a... It's way better. Way better. And now, let me say, the only way I'm relatively content with arenas being like a full loot and everything like that is if you have a hard matchmaking system. Like a really hard gear matchmaking system. And I don't really have high hopes for them to do that because we haven't seen anything like that implemented so far. There was the rank matchmaking system, but that's not really going to work. I mean, what are you going to do? Wait for everybody to rank up? I mean, even then, they hop on another character, fresh character, they just farm kits, right? And especially because if it's like full loot, that incentivizes people to win really hard. you're going to run into cheaters. That's going to be a big problem. You're like absolutely going to run into cheaters. Now, I'm not talking ESP. I'm talking like fucking Rechax, aimbot. Because you know what they can do, especially at higher ranks? They're almost guaranteed that they're going to queue against a really geared team every single time. And it's like, okay, yeah, it'll be very obvious and they'll get banned, but if they kill, 15, 20 teams in a row for all their gold kits, does it really matter? Because, I mean, they're definitely just going to sell it off and, buy another account and go back in. Those 20 teams aren't going to get their gear back. It doesn't really help. Like, I mean, this is like a little bit, but that's the worst part about dying to a cheater. It's like, I don't care that the guy got banned. Fantastic. That doesn't help me. Like, that doesn't give me my gear back. That doesn't take, with the market, it's not as bad, but how it used to be with the old trading, trading hall. Like, oh, this guy got banned. That doesn't give me back the 3 hours it took me to buy that kit, right? Like, sick. That doesn't do anything for me. Like, great. That specific person maybe won't be killing me again since he's banned. However, that doesn't, I'm still probably going to die to another cheater, and I didn't get my gear back. But this is just such a bad idea, and I'm so... I really hope they change their mind on this. I know for a fact this is something a large portion of the player base will not want. If you are and I mean, people are like, oh, you don't speak for the player base. If you are a casual player, this is not what you want. This is the exact opposite of what you want. You do not want Arena to be like a full loot system, ever. This is going to make it so it's pretty much impossible for a casual player to go in and play it. You're going to go in once. You're going to fight people that are probably more geared than you, or people that are, better than you. They're going to kill you, you're going to lose your kit, and you're probably never going to go in again. Because the only thing you have to gain, you can't gear up in there. The only thing you have to gain is you're going to be able to kill them for their kits. And if you're not running good gear, or you're not that good at PvP, what the fuck are your odds of doing that? It's... So that, like, they're just pretty much going to make this game mode. It's like... The thing is, I'm not complaining for me, right? Because for me... if somebody that runs really good gear, really good at PvP, this system's fantastic for me. It's pretty much just me printing money. Like, I'm just going to be farming gear left and right. I don't have to queue in the dungeon. I don't have to waste all my time. I don't have to worry about getting teams for the most part. I'm just going to queue up, and I'm going to be farming teams for all their gear. Like, that is fantastic for me. However, I'm thinking of the bigger picture, right? I'm not just thinking, which is something players rarely do. I'm thinking of, in the grand scheme, how, first of all, keeping Arena alive and making Arena competitive. Because that's the most fun thing. I'm going to be real with you guys. A lot of players, for some reason, think top players care about gear. Top players don't give a flying fuck about gear. Maybe super early on in the wipe, when, no one really has gear, yeah, they care about it then. But later on, it's like, we don't care about gear to the point where we're obsessed with it, right? Getting cool gear, getting, good gear, getting BIS gear, it's fun, it's exciting, yeah. But we don't super care about it. It's nice, however, that's not why we play. We play because PvP's fun, and we enjoy it, and we want to fight people. And that is fantastic for this system. It is a fantastic PvP system. I love fighting people with similar gear. Getting their gear, seeing the BIS, it will be fun. However, I'm thinking of, a month after it's out, when Arena has 15 teams in it total, and if they're just circling because no one else is willing to go in because they're terrified of fighting these people. That's what I'm thinking about. I want Arena to be a long-term competitive experience for this game that the dungeon isn't. Because they've said before that Dark and Darker, if people wanted a competitive scene for it, they could do it. And Arena is how they could do it. Everybody's like, oh, Dark and Darker is not competitive. Dark and Darker is not competitive. This right here is how it could be competitive. The Arena is the exact thing for that. And I am so excited for it. And I want the Arena to be good and done well so badly. Because if Arena's done well, this is pretty much all I'm going to play, later on in the wipe. Right? It's just pretty much the only thing I'll play. And then one more issue I want to raise with this is, so assuming this means, full loot, right? Assuming this is full loot for the Arena, that's what this means. It means you go in, you lose your gear, the enemy team gets your gear, or... Okay, I mean, honestly, I'm assuming the enemy team will get your gear. If you just lose your gear and they don't get it, that would be really stupid. That would be incredible. Oh, I just threw my gear into the void. Whee! No, that would be so fucking dumb. But okay, so assuming it's full loot. Like I said at the beginning, these top teams that are farming kits, do you know what this is going to do? This is pretty much going to make it so they never have to play the normal game mode ever again. Yeah, they could, bossing for names is pretty much the only incentive they would have. However, they would never need to go in for money. They would never need to go in for gear. Maybe for questing, I guess. But that's the only other thing. Questing and names is the only reason they would ever have to go into the normal dungeon. You know why? Because if they're just farming these other teams and getting all their gear, people are literally just donating them 3 kits, 3 kits, 3 kits, 3 kits every time they fight them. And that's just, oh, I get all this gear, I can just sell it. I just fill my stash up and I just sell the excess. You know? Why would I ever need to go back in when I have people donating me bis after bis after bis that I'm just gonna fill up with my, or fill my stash up with, and then sell, like, you know, stuff I can't use. Also, this just poses several questions as to how it's gonna work. You know, is it anyone that dies loses their gear? So like if I'm the sole survivor and 5 people are dead, do all 5 people lose their gear? Do the winners automatically, you know, do the winners automatically keep their stuff and like the enemy's gear is deposited into their stash? Like, how does it work? There are just so many questions, and I'm just genuinely worried, and I really hope they don't do it like this. Really, really hope they don't do it like this. But I mean, I guess I can look at this. I mean, I don't think arena is anything like people are guessing it will be. So like I said, I don't know what people are guessing the arena is. I mean, I know what I'm guessing the arena is going to be like. I don't know what others are guessing it's going to be like. I mean, hell, maybe he's talking about me, because I mean, haven't really heard anyone else talk about it. I think I've probably been one of the more vocal people regarding arena. And if he's saying that, and he's saying I'm wrong, then fuck. I'm just gonna say it now. If their plans for arena are what I've just been discussing, then I think arena is gonna die in a month tops. It's pretty much just it's gonna end up being a place where only the top players will ever go to play, and everybody else is just never gonna do it because they're gonna get skill diff, they're gonna get gear diff, they're just gonna get diff. It's not gonna be fun. It's gonna be the most. I mean, it's not going to be fun for most. I mean, for me, like I said, yeah, hell yeah, I'm going to love it. It's going to be awesome. But it's going to be an incredibly sweaty environment. It's going to be super competitive. And overall, like I said, it's just not going to be friendly to anyone that isn't like those top players. But with that being said, I think that wraps up the video for there. I think that wraps up the video there for me. So if you guys have your own opinions about this, feel free to leave them down below in the comments. I'd be happy to talk about it. Arenas is something I'm very excited for. It's probably one of the things I've been the most excited for since this game's been released. I think it could be this game's gateway into the competitive scene for games. I think it has a ton of potential. However, I think this is also something that is incredibly easy to fuck up. I think Iron Mace has shown pretty often that they are, you know, kind of likely to fuck things up more often than not, actually. However, I mean, you know, I think this is something we really have to speak out about, because I'm just saying this is not the way we want this. This is not good for 99% of players. And if you are making something that is going to, like, if you're making something like this, like an entire game mode that is removing itself for 99% of players, like, what's the point, man? Just focus on other things. Like, you're going to put all this time and effort into something that most people are never even going to play, never going to want to play, and never have a reason to play. But yeah, that pretty much sums it up. Feel free to like, comment, subscribe, all that good stuff, and I will catch you guys next time. Peace.